Hello, good evening to everybody joining remotely. We really appreciate you being here. You know, it's been 18 months. First time in 18 months we've seen people. I've seen beautiful, wonderful, beautiful faces in person. God, how I've missed this. And I hope everyone here feels the same way. I've talked to a number of you offline as you've arrived here tonight. And I think the feedback has been pretty much the same. Hey, this is the first meetup I've attended or technical in-person event I've attended literally in a year and a half, literally in a year and a half. So this feels really good. Thanks for doing this. And of course, we're grateful to even be given the opportunity to do this, and we're grateful that you're here. So it's reciprocated. We feel the same way. So you're very, very welcome. But this is just so good. It feels great. We've missed the face-to-face interaction. I've missed the fist bumps and going back to 2019, pre-COVID, even an occasional hug or two. Not, again, as I say, not a creepy hug, but a cool hug, just a genuinely, a genuine hug to say, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. We genuinely appreciate that. I miss those. I'm a huggy, fist bumpy type person. Jennifer is, Danny is, our entire team. That's just the way we are. So I've missed this. So it's good. So good to see you. I won't hug you tonight. I won't even fist bump you. We'll keep a safe distance. But just know that I'd love to. I'd love to. My wife laughs when I say that, but she kind of gets a kick out of that. I do hug and love on her all the time and our boys. Anyway, that's a side story. I do want to thank our sponsors tonight as well. We have two. Camunda, the team at Camunda, they could not be here tonight. They are going to, I think they're joining virtually. So I do want to recognize the team at Camunda. They are sponsoring All Things Open. That's going to happen in about 5 weeks from now in October. We're very grateful to them, but they want to help make these meetups possible. Also want to thank Corelight. Amber Grainer has volunteered with us numerous times. She's been a member of our community for years, and her company is helping to make this one possible tonight. Camunda is sort of a long-term sponsor. They're going to be sponsoring us over the next year, and Corelight is sponsoring this one specifically. So I do want to recognize and thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are so wonderful. They've stuck with us, and we are extremely grateful. There's been some turbulence, let's be honest, over the last 18 months. I'm still attempting to, I think, process a lot of what has happened, frankly, even though I've had a year and a half to do it. And a lot of the people that I talk to, honestly, are working to still process through the information as well. It's been a sea change. This has been a true life change, a directional change in life and everyday activities and just the way that we live. So there's been a lot to process. We're still, it's ongoing. And hopefully, we're going to get back to normal here soon. Fingers are crossed. Jean-Georges, thank you for speaking. I talked to you offline earlier tonight before we started here, and you said the last talk you gave publicly was, I think, 2 years ago at All Things Open. So this is your first public presentation, public session in about 2 years. And I know a lot of the people watching tonight, a lot of people in our community, the exact same goes for you. Most of you have not attended anything in the last 2 years, or almost 2 years. So again, it's just really, really great to have you. We are going to be doing giveaways tonight. We always do, but tonight especially, it's important. Some of you have already received a shirt. So there are shirts in the back, hats in the back, socks in the back. We're also going to be giving away copies of Jean-Georges' book, Spark in Action, 2nd edition. We're going to give away 6 tonight here, and he signed these books. And we're also going to give away a Ducky 1 Mini mechanical keyboard. I was telling the group here before we officially started at 6:30, I actually use a mechanical keyboard. I like them. I like the feel of my fingers as I type and everything. But if anyone here, we'll choose someone randomly at the end of the meeting tonight to give away the mechanical keyboard. And if you're watching remotely, virtually, if you're interested in a t-shirt or a hat or a pair of socks, our socks are great. They're thick, like that thick material. They feel really good. If you're interested in something, drop us an email at info@allthingsopen.org, info@allthingsopen.org. We typically cover shipping within the United States and even some international markets. We'll pick up everything. We're happy to send something to you. We're grateful that you joined us. So let us know if you want something. I didn't bring a shirt or a hat. Well, actually, here's a hat. And I'm wearing a hat, by the way. So that's easy to know what those actually look like. With all that said, I want to, again, thank you all for sticking with us. A lot of you have joined us for our virtual meetups over the last 18 months. When you're out of market, quote unquote, out of the in-person market for a year and a half, you do not know what's going to happen. You think, and it's reasonable, I think, to believe people will forget about you. So much has happened in individual lives. People have just moved on. They've got family, kids, whatever it might be. Some of us have lost loved ones. I've known people, I hate to say this, that are no longer, I mean, as somber as that is, as negative as that is, it's just the truth. Life has changed so much. So it's easy to believe that with all that water that has gone under the bridge, people just move on. They just, are no longer thinking about ATO. So the fact that you're still here, you choose to join us, I am so grateful. And Jennifer and our entire team, we are so incredibly grateful. I again, will thank you 10 more times, but I want to make sure you hear me 7, 10, 15 times tonight, how thankful we are that you haven't forgotten about us and you're willing to come back in person and join us virtually. It means everything to us. We love doing this, and we'll continue doing this as long as we can, as long as we have the opportunity. I want to invite everybody to All Things Open, taking place in 5 weeks. I did a video earlier today on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw that short video. I'm at Todd Lew, Toddlew. If you don't follow me, I would encourage you to. I would invite you to. Encourage is too strong a word, right? Do I really have enough going on that you need to take time out of your day to follow me? Probably not, in reality. But if you want, I'd love to follow. But you might want to take a look at the video. I showed you the room configuration, and for everyone joining us virtually, you can't see this. You can in the video that I posted, at how well we're spaced out. And my point is that we dropped the partition walls. The room that we're in is actually 3 breakout rooms. We've opened everything up. Everyone here is spaced 6 to 12 feet between other people. And the room is literally 3 breakout rooms. We're going to do exactly the same thing for All Things Open. We're doing it upstairs on the 4th floor in the 4th floor ballrooms, and we're going to do them here in the 3rd floor breakout rooms. So the seating will be very similar to this for ATO. Might be a little tighter, might be a little close together, but not by much. We're being very strategic in how we seat people because we know social distancing is very important. It's vital, especially at this phase of the game with Delta and everything being as contagious as it is. We know how important that is. But I would encourage you to register for ATO. We've sent out a number of free passes for the in-person event via our meetup group. We're going to continue to do that. This year of all years, we do not want cost to be a barrier. We have capped the price this year at $99. In past years, it's increased. We've tiered it as we get closer. That only enables us to plan, right? That encourages people to register so that we can plan food and the floor layout accordingly. All that's out the window this year. It's capped at $99. It's not going to increase. And if you need a free pass or if you want a free pass, ping us. Send us an email at info@, and we will be happy to extend one to you or your group. We would encourage you, ask you that you maybe let colleagues and friends know about it and let them know about your experience here tonight. That, the check-in process was pretty smooth. There's not a long line. It's not overly cumbersome. It's quick, it's efficient, and it's going to work exactly the same way for All Things Open. So we're trying to make it as safe as it possibly can be. Lord knows, again, I happen to have small kids, so I am extremely vigilant and very concerned about catching COVID or giving it, even worse, getting it to my family. That's a hard one. That's a mental barrier for a lot of people. I struggle with it. So I understand what goes into the thought process into, do I really want to attend an in-person event or is it virtual? The good news is we're in person for ATO and we're virtual. We are working to live stream every bit of the content that's taking place on site to the virtual platform this year. So people joining us virtually, I don't think you're going to miss anything this year, so you're going to be able to experience it just like you were here. So if you don't feel comfortable, we understand registration is free thanks to our presenting level sponsors, but I would encourage you to register and tell your friends and colleagues about the event. We would love to have you. We don't know what's going to happen. Like we didn't know what was going to happen tonight. God, I don't even know what's going to happen for ATO. I think it's going to be great, but we need your all's help. So I would encourage and invite you all to register for that, either in person or virtually. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before I turn it over to Jean-Georges. He's why you're here. Oh, I will say this. For everybody joining at home via Zoom, we're using Zoom webinars. If you've never joined a webinar before, there are 3 icons at the bottom of your screen, and it's the ways that you can communicate within a Zoom webinar. You've got the chat feature, you've got the Q&A feature, and then you've got the raise your hand feature. So what I'm going to do is as soon as I yield the mic to Jean-Georges, I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to join, and I'm going to serve as moderator of the virtual session within Zoom. So I'm going to be moderating, looking at chat, and I'm going to be identifying questions that I'm then going to feed the Jean-Georges when he's ready to take them. So Jean-Georges will take in-person questions, and then we're going to do virtual questions. And for everybody joining at home virtually, you can pose those questions via chat or via the QA feature. I would strongly encourage you to pose those via the QA feature because QA keeps them all in one place. So the chat feature, if you pose a question there, it stacks, comments and questions stack, and then we have to go back through and sift through the stacked comments, and which can make questions sometimes a little difficult to find. We have to extract them out and identify them. QA, it's all questions in one place. It's very easy to find. So anybody that wants to pose a question virtually, is joining us virtually, do so. You can do so chat or QA, but I would strongly recommend the QA. I will feed those to Jean-Georges, and I'll be communicating with you in just a second. Normally, Jennifer is serving in that role, moderator, but she's outside actually checking people in today, so that's why we're not able to do that. Okay, does someone here have the time? I didn't even bring my watch.
40.
6:40. Okay, good. So I got all that out of the way in 10 minutes. We're right on time. Does anyone here have any comments? I see a couple of organizers here. For those of you joining a meetup for the first time, what we normally do is I yield the microphone to an organizer that might have another event going on. We want to make everybody that attends a meetup aware of other events that they could attend. Based on everything I'm seeing, the number of in-person events, kind of sparse still. People are kind of slower coming online. A lot of them are going to come online in 2022. But if you're here and you've got an event coming up and you want to tell us about it, by all means, please do so. I'm happy to yield the mic to you. Anyway, Brandon Mathis, sorry to call you out. You're an organizer. You run many groups here in the Triangle. You're here. Thank you for being here. I don't think you've got any events coming up? No? Okay. Well, anyway, if you think of any, over the course of the evening, I'm happy to yield the mic to you at the end of the session, okay? We're going to do our best to wrap up by 7:45 to 8. We're going to get you out quick. We're very cognizant of your time. We respect your time. We know it's a work night. We know it's Wednesday. It's midweek. It's hump day. You've still got a lot of the work week left. So we want to be cognizant of that. We're just grateful that you joined us. The last thing we want to do is keep you here, run past time, and be disrespectful in that way. That's not what we're all about. Let's see, giveaways. Anyone remotely that's interested in a giveaway can ping us at info@. We got t-shirts, hats, socks, books, mechanical keyboards, all things open. Thanks to our sponsors. Register for ATO in October. Anything else, Jean-Georges? I don't know.
I think you're good.
It was a beautiful day today.
It was.
The weather was great.
Yeah.
And by the way, have I told you how good it is to see your faces? God, it's so good to see your faces. Thank you all for being here. I'd give every single one of you the most awkward hug you've ever received if circumstances were what they were. You'd have to, anyway, I don't mean that in a weird way. I just mean that in a genuinely, I have truly missed seeing you people. So thank you. With all that said, Ricardo, I have a question. Are we using the same mic? Do you have another mic?
I have mine.
You're already mic'd up?
Yep, I'm mic'd up.
God, my eyesight, I think I need glasses. Thank you very much. I was just going to suggest, COVID and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so, Jean-Georges, thank you. You're awesome. You are so gracious. And you have been so patient with us in the lead up to this event. This was originally scheduled for August. It was canceled in August due to Delta. And you were so patient to move ahead a month and to reschedule accordingly. So thank you. You're a fine human being.
Thank you. So, to smooth a transition between an all virtual event and a physical event, I had to do something. I built my own non-virtual virtual background. Okay, so we're going to talk data, and first, I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer, the NPD Group. We're doing a lot of great stuff with data, but this is not about them. So my name is Jean-Georges, or JG, since I moved to the US. I lost a little bit the French way of pronouncing Jean-Georges, which is too tough. So I've been doing software for an awful lot of time. And I like to divide that in two columns, where the passion started and when the money flowed in. So I started doing software in 1983. I did a clone of a Monopoly game at that time on my Atari 800 XL. And I started making money in 1995 when I left college. And I started doing big data in 1984. At that time, I had the idea of collecting data from traffic lights and park meters to see if people were doing some kind of enforcement, law enforcement thing. And well, as you can imagine, in 1984, this didn't go very long. So on big data, I started making a little bit of money in 2006. Same thing with AI. I'm a safe architect. I don't design things safely, just the methodology. I'm a practitioner in enterprise design thinking. This is a tough one. I'm sorry, this one is not very visible, but I'm one of the board member of the local chapter of La French Tech. La French Tech is an organization in France that is promoting French technology, because we don't only do baguettes and wine and cheese. And recently, I've been named an IBM Lifetime Champion, or Lifetime IBM Champion. I don't remember the order. It's too recent. There's only 32 people in the world with this title. Thank you. So, I'm not on a promo tour, but it made me something a little bit special. So first, Todd on All Things Open, thank you, bought some books, and I signed them. It's the first time I signed a book. So the book is not old, it's a year, but we released a book in June of 2020. Okay, I did not get a chance to make a signing of it. You work 3 years on this book, and yep, it's on Amazon. That's it. I got a few copies at home, but that's it. And it's just to limit the show off. It's a best rated Spark book on Amazon. The slide says 4.8. It went to 4.9. It's now down to 4.7. So I'm counting on you guys to just go to Amazon and you know what you have to do. Okay. Let's get into the action. So I talk a lot about me, and you may think that the talk is only about me up to now, right? So that's me in the first time I came to the US. I was 8 or 9, maybe not, yeah, whatever. I started a bit of this passion about air and space, and on this trip, the highlight of my trip was the visit of the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Who has not been there? The Smithsonian of both of them, actually. They're awesome. I miss interaction with people too, okay? So you can say something. Okay, anyway, with what happened recently, I was curious about analyzing a little bit the air traffic. Okay, so this is what I kind of wanted to do, is trying to get the air traffic on a chart. I hope you can see it not too badly. And the first line is the total number of passengers from 2000 in thousands, so it's about 800 million at the beginning, over there, if I'm making it work here, over there. And so the first line is the total, the second line is the domestic passengers, domestic to the US, and the bottom line is international passengers, okay? So you get a sense that it's growing a little bit, right? It has its flows and it is up and down. Okay, so 2001 was not a good year for the air travel industry, And same thing for 2008 and 2009, where we had the crisis. So I wanted to make this palatable, and I wanted to find a way to share this data with people, not in Excel, obviously, and in a palatable way. And when I say palatable, it doesn't have to be a pie, right? So, but when you look at the data, it's looking like that. Okay, so that's a Bureau of Transportation Statistics, part of the Department of Transportation. Thanks to our president, we have open data, so all that is completely accessible. It's not always very useful, so if you want to do things, you may have to transform that, and that's a little bit what we're going to do today. As you may get a clue, I love Spark, but the output is pretty ugly, okay? Let's be honest. It's a little bit like 1980, okay? So I think we did better things when I was in college with a VT100. But whatever, I mean, this is a typical output of a data frame. We're going to talk about that. And this is a schema, okay? So you see, I've got a month, I've got the number of international passengers, I've got domestic passengers, I've got passengers, and I've got the schema for that data. So I said, okay, I want something easy to display this information. So I decided to create a small app, which I'm kind of announcing today at the same time. It's called Drishti. So for those of you who speak Sanskrit or Hindi, it means a vision. Okay, it's a concentration. It's not just a vision like that. It's really a focused gaze on something. So I created this. It's open source. It's an Apache 2 license. You can take your camera, point at that, and download it. It's based on Node, on React, and I'm using D3, and I'm using as a framework for displaying data, and just the framework, I'm using IBM Carbon. And it's the thing, what I wanted to do with that, and I'm only going to spend 3 hours on that. First, because we don't have 3 hours. But the first thing I wanted to do, to be able to do, is have this as a server managed, okay? When you think about end user solution, you always have something, oh, I'm taking my data in, and then I've got to tweak my data, great things like Cognos or Power BI, but the thing is that was not the idea. The idea was, let's make something simple. And so that's my chart, with all the air traffic, month by month, during from 2000 to 2019, December of 2019. Well, so to do that, I used Spark, and we're going to look a little bit at code. Okay, that's what we do here. Okay, so I'm not going to torture you too much, but this is. We actually have 2 pages of code for doing this small application. Very simple thing. If you're familiar with Spark, it's going to be very similar to what you've been doing already. So basically, I'm opening a session. I'm creating a session on my server. Here it's just locally on my machine. And then I'm creating a schema that is matching actually the data that I'm ingesting. So this is really, this schema there, okay? And this is really regarding when you think about what I showed you from the BTS, it's really about one is the month and the other one is either the domestic or the international passengers. And then I'm ingesting my data, okay? So everything in big data is about ingesting data. It starts by ingesting data. So that's what I'm doing. I ask Spark, hey, read that. It's a CSV file. It has a header. That's a date format, weird date format. It uses my schema I just defined and load this one. Okay, done. Then I just want to get rid of things that I don't like in the data, like null fields, just in case they break. They have a tendency to break things. And I'm doing the same thing with my domestic passengers. Okay? Fair enough. Then I want to combine the two, and to combine the two, I'm just going to do a basic join. Okay, so if you did any kind of relational database, you know that when you want to, you can join two tables. I'm doing exactly the same thing with Spark here. So here, same thing. Okay, I'm going to join my international data frame with my domestic data frame, and the colon is months, and it's going to be equal to the other one, and it's outer. And then I'm going to do a little bit of things like, okay, I want to have the total number of passengers. Okay, makes sense, huh? So I'm just going to ask him PAX, and PAX is the expression of international passengers and domestic passengers, just the addition of it. And then I'm going to drop the second column, because when you do a join, every column comes. I don't need 2 months, so I'm just going that. And then I'm going to filter, because I don't want anything that is after January 1st, 2020, and then I'm going to order that. Okay, and that's the result of that is the graph I showed you. Then I'm just calling Drishti to define the graph. Okay, so just to build the graph itself, that's it. Okay, this is this 10 lines of code. Okay. I'm defining first my headers, okay? So I say, hey, this is my headers, and this is the intelligible way I want to share with my user. I'm not even forced to do it. And then I'm saying I'm setting a graph for a title for my graph, a scale, and a legend down there, and same thing the white title. All that in the server. All done, transfer directly to my React app. So you may have wondered why I was using Java. Okay, well, this is really why. We already have this COVID. If I would expose you to something else than Java, look at the risks. Okay. So, but I use Spark as well. So what is Spark? So this is a picture of Spark at a conference called World of Watson, which is a major IBM conference, and that was back in 2016. You know, when we usually go to conference in person. And on stage there is a friend of mine with a dark suit. It's Rob Thomas, general manager at IBM for anything AI and cloud, and who also wrote the foreword of my book. And he very nonchalantly he says to the people there that Spark is an analytics operating system, and we're in Vegas. So I'm just thinking that Rob must have either smoked or drunk something really bad. What is an analytics operating system? So I took this home and I decided to study a little bit that. Okay, so why is that? Okay, so when you're looking at building applications, traditional applications, you've got your hardware layer. On top of that, you have your operating system, right? And then on top of that, you're building your application. I'm not teaching you anything there, I guess. When it comes to distributed computing, you have the same hardware, same operating system, and then you've got the apps that are supposed to manage the distribution. So the traditional way of doing it before was I'm going to put all this distributed layer in my app, I'm going to add all the analytics in my app, and this is going to be a nightmare to maintain, because then my developers, who are business developers, have also to maintain the network and things like that. Just a nightmare. So if you're thinking a bit differently, and you see that there's a layer for managing the distribution, and a layer that provides you a lot of APIs to do the analytics, and then you build your application on top of that, then that's what Spark is. And when you look at it like that, you can also think that, okay, I can program in many other languages. I can program in Java, which I just showed you. I can program in Python, which is a good alternative. Or, if you plan to retire soon, or even, sorry to say, Scala. So if I bring back that to the application I just showed, this is really what we did. Okay, so I took my my two CSV files, I ingested them in a data frame. Okay, I joined them. Okay, I combined that through an auto join, and then I decided to enhance the data frame, the data. And I exported the data. That's what Drishti is reading, and also the metadata. Okay, so everything is metadata driven, and then you've got the visualization that works. So I use this term, data frame. So if you've been doing some scikit or things like that, you may have heard the term of data frame. It's a little bit the same thing in Spark. When I'm thinking about Spark, I like to, that's a diagram you see when you go to the Apache Foundation regarding Spark. But if you look at a little bit more detail, I like this diagram a little bit better. Okay, so you've got SQL. You can do SQL in Spark. You can do streaming, like in a little bit of a way, like Kafka in a way. You can do machine learning and AI. And you can do graph databases. What unifies everything is their API. And their API is based on the data frame. So when you are a developer and you learn an API, if you learn the data frame API, that's the only thing you need to learn to do all these things. It provides you a data abstraction. It provides you a method abstraction, and it's a very consistent API. And you'll see more example of that. So, if you remember the first graph I showed you, it was a number of passengers per year, okay? So, I like the idea of per month, but it was, if you remember, it was very sizzled graph, okay? So let's look at quarters. Okay, so I run my app, and this is by quarter. You can see that there's a seasonality in air traffic. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. And if I zoom in, you'll see that it's predictable. But it still doesn't give me kind of a trend. Okay, so but anyway, let's look at a little bit of code. So this is exactly the same code. I just copy paste. You know, the good way of programming. Either you copy paste from your previous applications or Stack Overflow. Okay, and you put it there. And I decided to add. Okay, let's do my quarter. Okay, so I've got this data frame here. You see here, data set of row. I'm just going to use the column here, the column Q, and that's how I kind of group by quarter. Okay, so I'm calculating the quarter in which the month is falling, nothing really complex, and then I'm doing a basic aggregation. Here it's using the API, but I could do it via SQL, like a good old group by. And at the end of it, you see I'm summing all the passengers, the total of passengers, the international passengers, the domestic passengers. And I'm dropping the year, I'm dropping my quarter, and I order by the period, which is the quarter. Okay, good enough. I think it was good enough, sorry. Self-congratulatory a little bit. But that's what I want. I want by year. Okay, so what I'm doing is, again, I copy paste my code. And by the way, I forgot to say that, but here if you look at the lab, all that is available in my GitHub. And I'm sorry, it's not very really readable there, but it's you'll find it easily if you go to github.com/JGPerrin. And you'll find all that, and don't hesitate to ping me. But this one is in AI. It's Yeah, AI, JGP, Drishti.Spark. But anyway, so same code, okay? Same thing, copy, paste. And at the end of it, well, I decided to do the specific code for the year. And what is a specific code for the year? Well, I already have the year as part of the date. It's easier than the quarter. So I'm just grouping by the year, as you can see here. Group by the year, and I'm summing my columns. What a waste. What a waste. As you can see, lots of code duplication. Yeah. If the incoming format changes, it breaks everything. So I could put that in a function. But the problem of putting all that in a function is that, well, then all the initial processing I'm doing is kind of wasted. So I could store it somewhere as an interim storage or something. And that's really where you're starting to think a little bit in a more big data scenario. Okay, so everything comes from data, duh, and then you ingest your data. You land that into so the industry has named this. I don't remember. Okay, I've made the list because I can't remember. Okay, so people call that the staging zone, or the landing zone, or the bronze zone, or the swamp zone. Okay, so the industry seems to be kind of getting towards the bronze zone, where you actually put all the things you're getting. I like to consider that as raw data. It's the data you get from the different sources, and you put it in this zone. It's really raw data. Nothing has happened to this data except copied from somewhere and put it in your data lake or file system or whatever. From there, I'm applying data quality rules, okay? This is really a very important phase. If you don't do that, then your data is shit, okay? And once you apply these data quality rules, well, then you've got some call that the silver zone. I call that the pure data. But you can also have that people call that the refinery zone, the pond, the sandbox, or the exploration zone. Okay, so really the industry has been really great at trying to find one word. So silver is getting a little bit the most popular these days. Then this is where you can do some transformation that you can actually modify the data that suits your needs, and from there you get the gold zone. Okay, and the gold zone is also known, okay, the rich data, the fruit of your analytics works. You find the refined zone. Some in the theme of the data lake, people call that the lagoon. I like data, but I still like a lagoon a little bit better. This impossible for a French person to pronounce, the operationalization zone. Okay, that was not a French guy that found this name. Okay, gold is good, and then you can publish that, and really your publication process can. This is really where you extract and where you have your analytics, and then where you extract that and you get actionable data. And in the small examples I showed you before, it's exactly the same thing. I did that. Okay. What I'm saying now is, okay, let's do exactly the same thing, but at the gold zone, I'm going to cache my data, and this is going to be, I'm going to cache that in a product called Delta Lake. So Delta Lake is just version 1. It's like it matures like the virus. They were probably not very inspired when they named the product, but it's actually a very interesting, almost like a database that is leveraging Parquet files, if you have heard of that. It's a very interesting product. It's a very interesting technology. And by the way, all of that is open source. Okay, so I wouldn't come to Todd with commercial software. But all that is open source. Works either on your machine or on the cloud very easily. So now that I've got my data in Delta Lake, I can reuse it very easily. So that's the code. Okay. So at the end of my processing, what I just did is take my data frame, write it. The format is Delta. The mode is overwrite because I keep overwriting my data. And just a password to save it. That's it. And the data, all the processing I've done is saved. Then when I want to use it, I just said, hey, I told Spark, instead of reading my CSV files, cleaning them, joining them, adding the extra data, just go read Delta. And that's what it does. See? And I get that. So in this lab, in lab 430, you get that. You get that right away. And you can display it. But we all want more. So can we actually predict the future? And it's a tough question to answer. So I had to find a little documentary to show you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to put the mic close to my microphone. Hopefully you can hear it.
That's ridiculous. Only horoscopes can predict the future.
That's what we used to think, until we invented this.
Okay. If you remember that was not too long ago, that was 2020. Do you remember January 2020? Honestly, I don't. But the thing is, I remember March, okay, and all that happened. So when it comes to the air industry, there's a few things that could be interesting. So I'm going to try to understand what happened. I'm going to use the data I have from 2000 to the end of 2019 and build a projection on that. And then I'm going to do the same thing with all the data I have from the beginning, from 2000 to including 2021, and do a projection and an imputation, and I'm going to explain that. So this is the projection. So I'm not the greatest data scientist on earth. I'm sorry. I'm more into the engineering side. So this is a linear regression. Okay, if any of you is a data scientist, is probably going to throw me something, because this is a perfect use case for a gradient booster. But this is what I have. So when I've got this thing, so and I limit it to the internet, to the total number of passengers. Okay, so not to confuse anyone anymore. So I've got my label here. Okay, what is my label? It's the thing I'm trying to predict. Okay, what I'm trying to predict is the number of passengers in the future. So my data stops here. If you go down, took 2019. Okay, so that's my data for 2019. My green line, or my teal line here, what it's doing is it's building a linear regression with all this data, and it's projecting it in the future. Okay, it assumes the linear regression. This line here is, if you want to draw one line that would represent exactly the same thing as the purple line here, or purple curve, this is what your linear regression is. Okay, this is my perfect line. And I asked Spark to do it. And then Spark, I told him, okay, based on this line, project the future. So it's not perfect, but it gives you an estimation. And if I look now at my code, okay, you're seeing that it's not, it adds at the end of it, at the end of what you're seeing, I decide to say, okay, this is my features, okay? Sorry, I didn't define the features. The feature is this thing here, okay? So I've got my label, and this is a feature, okay? This which is part of the the data as well. So first thing is I pick my features, which are the years, okay? And I'm just creating this specific format that Spark is expecting. Then I ask Spark, hey, create this linear regression, okay? And then I cut my data in two sets. One for testing and one for training. So I'm training a model, and then I'm comparing against the test data to see if it matches, okay? So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating my model here. And then I'm creating a list of the years I want to predict the data on, to 2020 to 2026. And I'm just using a little of a Spark magic there. And at the end, you can see that I'm asking Spark, hey, take my data frame and transform it using this model. Okay? So I agree that the code could be a little bit more readable, but it's fairly easy anyway, okay? And if you love copy-paste, it's all on GitHub. But, as I said, scoop of the day, something happened in 2020. And this is a consequence. I still have my label here, okay? I have my feature, and this is how I predicted, using the same techniques, predicted the data. So this curve, the purple curve, is the real data for 2021. Up to the data from the Bureau of Transportation is giving me data only until May. Okay, I cannot do anything with data until May. Okay, it's 5 months in for 2021. So yeah, it looks like it's really down compared to last year, but it's only 5 months of the year. So I want to create what we call an imputation, which is let's try to correct that. Okay, let's try to project for the extra 7 months that are missing from 2021. And so you can so that's what I did, and that's a teal line now. Then I built two models, okay? And one model is using the same data as I showed you before, the data from 2000 to 2019. And the second model is from the data from 2000 to 2021, okay? And that's how I built this curve, this diagram. So if you want to experiment with it, and if you're connected to the Wi-Fi here, you can take your phone and you can, well, for the people being remote, that's not going to work. But if you're here, you can take your phone and you can play with Drishti, and you can see you can see the data and see how it plots on the line and zoom in. Maybe not zoom in, but you can look at it. Okay, so it's HTTP 172.25.177.2, and the port is 3000. Anyone trying? Okay, awesome, it works. That's the definition of done. Okay, done. Okay, so how did I build this thing? So first, I extracted only the 2021 data. I'm going to work on my imputation, okay? I'm extracting only the data from 2021 to create to take the first 5 months and predict the rest for the months. Okay, so I'm doing that. I'm taking all the data. I'm counting the number of months, and then I'm doing the total amount of. I could actually just do for the total passengers, but I was excited, so I did it for international passengers and domestic passengers as well. And then very linearly, I created these 7 months in my data frame here. Okay, so basically I created my 7 months, and I just added the same value for each month. Okay, so it's a bit of a cheat, but it's an imputation. Okay, there's different ways, as you know that, and as I showed, you can see there's a seasonality in air traffic. I could have done a little bit better based on that, but that's one way to do it. And then I've got my data frame with all the data. With the 2021 data, and I can actually union it with the other data frame, and I've got everything combined. Now I've got my 2 models, okay, and you see the code is a lot cleaner here. It's smoother. I've got my linear regression, okay, and I'm just going to create a model based on what I did before, the year lesser or equal to 2019. So this syntax is a little bit weird, but the thing is, if you like SQL, you can write SQL. And same thing for my 2021 model, and I'm taking the data less or equal than 2021. I say less or equal than 2021 because I already added to my data my next years, okay, to 2022 to 2026. And then I'm just running this, okay, and boom, I create my data, and that's it. That's it. And I display it. So what happened? It's all, everything is about the model, okay? This is where whatever you do with AI, because this, even if it's a very basic linear regression, this is part of the field of, well, it used to be part of the field of statistics. It's still in the field of statistics, but everybody combined everything, and now it's AI. So it doesn't have to be super complex neural networks and things. But here, so basically, I took my data set, I gave it to a trainer, and the trainer created the model. And when I've got the model, then I can reuse it in production for to do predictive data analysis. Okay, it's a black box. The model is a black box, but you tune it to get what you want. Which I often get the question of, where is data engineering starting and stopping, and where is data science starting and stopping in some ways? Are we in a need to oppose the people and the roles? But the most important thing is this one. So I guess that's the one laughing at data scientists, obviously. Okay. But more seriously, we have data engineers, okay? Data engineers are taking the data, they are preparing the data so it can be used and it can be matured in a way that it's consistent. Okay, if you look at the examples I gave you at the very beginning, when I'm taking my CSVs are ugly. I cannot do anything with my CSVs. I need to take the CSVs, I need to put them in a data frame, I need to put it in a store, Delta Lake in this situation, to be able to be reused by data scientists. And then the data scientists are going with their set of tools, and they are going to run statistics, analysis, they are going to build these predictive models, okay? You saw the one I used. There's barely 3 parameters. They can be a lot more complex. So that's where the data scientist is coming in. And if you give bad data to the data scientist, he can't do anything, or he or she can't do anything. So you need to have this data engineering phase before and even after for that to make all that smooth. So when it comes to tools, this is also a very important thing. Is what are you see that the data engineer and the data scientist are not using the same tools. The data engineer is using traditional databases, eventually Node like I did, caches, Mongo, that's not even Mongo anymore, GitHub, okay? The data scientist is using another complete other set of tools, IBM Watson, Databricks, SAS, our local champion, MATLAB. Still see some people using MATLAB. R, Tableau, SPSS, Jupyter, or Zeppelin. And PowerPoint and Excel. Because the data scientist is also a storyteller. He's got to explain the data. If you're a pure analytic person and you're going to explain your prediction, it's not going to work. You've got to put that in a story, like I try to do today with you. So, but the most important, I think, is the part in the middle. That's actually the part that is actually joining the data engineering and the data science world. And I always do this trick. I put Java there, hoping that someone in the data science team will take it, but I know it's not working. But SQL is one. Java could be one. Python is really super mega popular, okay, in both camp, and unfortunately Scala. So it's time to conclude. What I like for you as a call for action is, if you're interested in this field, is you can look at the both projects. Okay, one thing that you can do is you realize that the more data you have, the more you can do, right? And if you look at the air traffic and the data set, I've used one from the BTS, the Bureau of Transportation, but on the GitHub, you will also find another data set that is 50 years old, okay? So if you want to have fun, you can do exactly the same thing with 50 years of data, 50 years of data versus only 20. And you see, it doesn't have to be big data to start to do some prediction. And Todd and I, we did a virtual meetup this summer, and I think that the theme was about COVID-19. And you can find all the example about that I did there. Why not have the COVID-19 as a feature, okay? Right now, in this, I only used a year to make my prediction. What about the number of cases? So if you want to go forward, you could do that and combine both to see if COVID had an impact on how the impact of COVID is on air travel. I'd love some help around Drishti. So if you feel like participating in an open source project, a very simple one. It's not a big one. So feel free to try Drishti and join me in developing it. And you can follow me on Twitter. And like Todd, I'm not respectful of your time, so please follow me on Twitter. He asks you very nicely, and if you had the time, no, just follow me, okay? Okay. And if you even have more time to waste, you can follow me on Twitter, on YouTube, where I've got hours and hours of videos about data engineering and stuff like that, okay? So that's even worse. Okay. Anyway, in terms of takeaway, I hope you see that Spark is a very powerful tool. All that, I was at the beginning, I was kind of thinking I would do that on my machine as well, and kind of live, and you could see things, but it would have been a mess. I need more screens. But all the examples are running on a very simple machine. Okay, you need 8 gig of RAM, which is basically any machine these days. I run on a Mac because, yeah, I sold my soul to Cupertino, but I think it runs on Windows too. and you can do data engineering, creating data pipelines, or data science, okay? And with the same tool. I also hope that you got this new vocabulary and concept regarding Spark. What is a data frame? What is an analytics operating system, and what you can do with it? Hopefully you get also that the more data you have, and that's why big data is becoming more and more interesting. It's the more you have, the more you can dig into, the more you can filter, the more you can predict from what you have. And finally, I would say that data is very fluid in the way like you cannot grasp it. And I don't know if it's painful, but it's fun, definitely. So thank you very much.
Different data sets. Have you played with the voter registration data?
Yeah. Sure. So the question is, did I play with voter registration? I like your T-shirt because it's very neutral and bipartisan. I would be afraid of not really being bipartisan if I do anything with political data. But no, I did not. I did not. I played with the air traffic there. I played with, outside of work, okay. I played with COVID. COVID was extremely interesting to work, and it's becoming unfortunately an interesting data set because it's pretty big. I hope you'll get a free book, but in the book, one of the things I wanted to do as I wrote the book, it was really, I didn't want to explain data engineering on something that is colon A, colon B, colon C with record 1, record 2, record 3, okay? I wanted to have real data sets. So I played, and that was a fun part of writing the book. I played with a lot of data sets there. The libraries in South Dublin, Ireland. The NASA satellite information. What else? The restaurants in Durham. Our Durham. They're probably mostly almost closed now, but sorry, bad humor. Yeah, you go to, the previous administration really did a lot of work on having open data. There's data.gov, where you find an incredible amount of data in the weirdest ways possible. Like you've got data in HTML. Okay. But there's that. A lot of cities. Sorry?
At least it's not PDF.
Well, some are. But some cities have it. I think Raleigh had one. Durham had an open data portal, but it's not that great. I think it's falling apart. Chapel started one. Really not that much interested in Chapel, even if I live there. I don't, whatever. But you find more and more of this open data, which is an awesome, really a rich field of experimentation you can do. Kaggle, if any of you know Kaggle has competitions, and they also offer data sets. There's also a site called Data World. I looked at, when I was working on this, I looked at the World Bank. I think the 50 years data set on air traffic is from the World Bank. So there's really a lot out there, which is awesome. And you can verify things, okay? Like what the World Bank was saying compared to what the Bureau of Transportation, it's not the same data. Ta-da! Another conspiracy, but anyway. So all that is super interesting, and there's an awesome lot of playgrounds. So.
Any other questions? Yeah, I see a couple. So using the air traffic as an example, there's obviously this huge anomalous event. So would you say that this is like the best time to get into data, or the worst time? Like that there's this like X factor.
So your question is really, when is it a good time to work to work in data?
Are you going to be able to draw meaningful conclusions from the data that you see?
So is there any interest in right now, or wait until basically there's more data to work? You never have the complete data set. It's like agile versus waterfall. Okay, you've got to start working with what you have. I was a little bit pissed, to be honest, when I started working on that. I started working for mid-August, and at that time the data was already ending in May. And now we're mid-September, and the data is still ending in May. Okay, so what are they doing in the government? Aren't our tax serving some purpose? But anyway, so you've got to use what you have. Okay, so I think it's you can try to find different sources of data, but it's interesting to know what you have now. And what I wanted to illustrate with the two models as well is, see how the model varied. Okay, so you had the model from 2000 to 2019, and then the model from 2000 to 2021. Okay, so the two models were different, and you can see the trajectory is a little bit different. Okay, if you're in finance, for example, and you want to know, okay, am I going to bet on a pharma company now, or on air traffic? Okay. It's pretty obvious. You don't need a lot of data for doing it. But if you want to back your data, you saw really that based on this Sagan model over 20 years, it was completely flat. Okay, so the prediction for the future means it's going to be completely flat. So do I want to invest there or in companies selling vaccines sponsored by the government? Okay, so it's really, you've got, here this was mostly for fun, but the thing is, based on your work, you've got a question. If you're a data scientist or a data analyst, you've got a question to answer now. Okay, your boss is asking you for a question now. So you do the best you can with the data, and that's where you also have tools like imputation and other statistics tools, which is about making up data in this situation. I hope I answered. You had one.
Why Java is not Scala?
So the question was, and I hope you have 3 hours in front of you guys. Now, the question was, why Java and not Scala? So, Scala is a programming language. I'm not going to make much friends based on that, but I'm pretty opinionated on that. Scala is a programming language that tried to experiment with very nice concepts, like lambda functions, when Java did not have lambda functions. So people said, oh, that's awesome, I'm going to do Scala stuff. And then they continued doing experimenting, and they continued doing different stuff. And Scala became, as a language, for, I think, a very short time, superior to Java. But there's plenty of languages like that. Ruby is another example. Perl, okay? So there's plenty of languages that are moody in some ways. And for me, Scala is unfortunately a moody language. I've been following Spark since version 1.4, 1.5 roughly. And we had version 3.2 should be coming out soon, if it's not there. You see that they had plenty of issues at keeping up with the Scala version. Okay? So at the beginning it was Scala 2.9, or 2.8 even, then 2.9, then 2.10, then 2.11, and then 2.12. And you say, well, it's not a big deal from Java, from Scala 2.8 to 2.9, or 2.9 to 2.10. It's only a minor increase in numbers. But those are breaking changes. Those are breaking changes in your application. You take now a Java 8 application, you compile it with Java 11, it mostly runs, okay? There's no breaking changes like that. So this is all the craziness around the hype of Scala. And a few years ago, it's a little bit less like that because people fall for the hype. But a few years ago, a Scala developer, and probably still now, is probably, I would estimate, 10 to 20% more expensive than a Java developer. It's good for you if you want, but you're not going to do that until your retirement. And if you look at, you probably know IEEE. So IEEE, they do standards, they do surveys of our industry. And one of the IEEE studies they do regularly is Spectrum. And it's very interesting to see. Spectrum measures the popularity of languages, of programming languages. And you can see the popularity of languages. So you see some things like super constant, like C, C++, like, no problem, okay? So they're here to stay. Very, very constant. You see that Python has become number 3, maybe like 10 years ago, to now it's probably number 1. And Java is 1, 2, depending on the circumstances. Every company, and before joining NPD and before that I was a consultant, every company has some kind of Java somewhere, even if they're die-hard Microsoft with C#. So that's my short answer to Scala. And if you fancy a beer, we can badmouth it even more after. Okay. About badmouthing Scala?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you mentioned it twice. I was like, why the disposition? So that was a great answer. Thank you.
Well, and the thing is, there's a lot of confusion about Scala because Spark itself is written in Scala, okay? So the thing is, oh, Spark is written in Scala, so I'm going to use Scala. Yeah, okay, Windows written in C++, you still use Visual Basic, right? Well, or you used to, okay? So it doesn't have to be linked, or not as strongly as that, but that's the position of an architect. Todd, you had one from online?
Yeah, so I remember that you were talking about how you had to create, when you were creating 2 models, how you had to make one model, join the data, and then create another model.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in industry, or if people oftentimes, I guess, take their current model and keep on adding on, rather than actually creating a new one. So I imagine with like in this case, it's just 2, but let's say you have a stream of data rather than an actual.
So basically, is your question, if I'm summarizing it, is really about the life cycle of a model in some way, whether you're creating a new one every time or you keep enriching it. And it's a very good question for a data scientist, which I'm not. But what I would tell you is, and my experience with discussing with data scientists is that a model that is not changing is a dead model. And I'm a strong believer of that. It means that you need to feed it new data. You need to feed it new parameters, new features. One thing I didn't talk anything about is all the hyperparameters you tune to make your model work. All that is extremely important to keep track over time. And I think that people keep this information, or should keep this information, as metadata that is created, that is used to create your model. Okay? And then your model itself, I didn't do it, but you can save it to file, and there's even exchange of models. IBM has a site where you can download model in a public format, and you can apply them to you, because some models are complex. Okay, training mine was milliseconds. So really, I think it's probably going to be in France we've got the region of Normandy. Okay, and they're well known for not taking any. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, so I would say to you, I'm going to give you a Normandy response. Is yeah, you're right on both fronts. Okay, you can either keep enriching it as you find new features, or you can create from scratch a new one. I barely talked about AI and all the things, but you can imagine things about bias. Okay, are you going to integrate gender in your model? Okay, and if you integrate gender, are you going to integrate it on a parity, like it's going to be 50% women or 50% men? Okay, and if you don't, then you have some bias. But if you do, how does that apply to breast cancer, for example? Okay, so there's all this evolution of your model. Okay, there's regularly scandals about features that were used in the model that should not have been used or should not have had this weight in it, like the hiring process at Amazon, which were favoring men over women, and sometimes the bias itself is not completely obvious. Okay, and you've got to remember that who is picking the features to make the model they are humans. Okay, there's some toolkits to help you pick the features, but they're really humans. Okay, so you're human. You can be biased even without really knowing you're biased. And what you're saying about having this new model and this evolution, this life cycle of the model, is also goes back to data governance. Okay, so at All Things Open, 3 or 4 years ago, there was a software engineer or a data engineer from Fidelity here that explained how Fidelity was actually using taking the model and put them into data governance. Okay, so because it's important, because you've got to keep track of that, and there's even laws now in some countries where you even have to be able to explain the model. So there's a new field of AI which is really about explainability of the model itself in plain French. Okay, or English. So there's a lot of things about just managing the model itself. Okay, and I don't think there's one solution to fit everything for now, at least. Thank you.
All right. Jean-Georges, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Talk. So you saved up for that for 2 years, right? you've been practicing on that one.
Looks like
for
I'm
about-
not too
literally,
rested.
you've been waiting about 2 years to deliver that talk. Okay, that was really good stuff. Okay, so those of you joining us from home, I've been communicating with you via the chat feature in Zoom, but thank you all for sticking it out and kind of staying with us. Thanks to everybody here as well. Thank you for coming out tonight. I got about 7:48 or thereabouts, so we're going to wrap this up in about 5 to 10 minutes. We are going to do some giveaways. We've got books, Jean-Georges' book. I know I'm supposed to stay in frame, but I'm going to go out of frame for just a second, okay? So sorry about that. And we're also going to give away a mechanical keyboard. I like mechanical keyboards. I hope you do too. And if you do happen to win the mechanical keyboard tonight and don't want it, find someone here that would really appreciate it and use it and give it to them. That would be great. Better they use it and get enjoyment out of it than you take it, not use it, and it sit on a shelf in your house forever. My own personal opinion, but if you win it, you can do with it whatever you like. But I would encourage you to give it to somebody if you don't want to use it that will really use it, because these are really cool keyboards. Anyway, all that said, Jean-Georges, thank you for making for writing the books. I know how hard it is to write a book. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a labor of love too. So the book is great.
Especially the money you're making from it.
Yeah, I don't know many people making a lot of money from books. I'll just say that.
I'm just shy of Harry Potter.
Just shy Harry Potter? Yeah, good for you. Then, hey, the fact that you take time to be, out of your schedule to be here with us tonight, that means even more to me. That I know that. Anyway, so Jennifer, with all that said, I've got actually a random number generator. I'm going to give you some numbers. You tell me who it is. The first number is 26. Aaron S. Hey, very cool. There you go. Jean-Georges signed the book, and it's actually a great book. Okay, so we're gonna generate a number 10.
Mike Irwin.
Is Mike Irwin here? Very cool. Mike, tell you what, I'll leave that book right there. How about that? Okay. All right. Let's see. Number 3. Madeline Preston. Hey! You've got a really cool shirt on, too. For those of you that can't see it, she has an All Things Open shirt from 2019, I think. Astro holding the flag on the moon. So anyway, one of my personal favorites. We actually have some of those available tonight on the back table. So if anybody likes her shirt, they're really cool shirts. Yeah. Number 20. Hunter Morris. Hey, awesome. Very cool. I'll tell you what, yep, there you go. Yep, we got 2 more, total of 6. I'm going to generate number 2.
Brian Carey.
Carey, all right, Brian. Congratulations. Very nice. Again, these are very nice books. I think you'll really like it. Final one, book number 6, number 16. Paul? Hey, Paul. Awesome. Paul, you've been a member of our community.
And all the dedication, because they're obviously anonymous, as I didn't know who's getting the book. They're all different. So the winners, you can even exchange your dedication. So.
Okay, so this is for the mechanical keyboard. And let's see, number 4.
Michael Shore.
Michael Shore, cool. There you go. I hope you enjoy it. I use one of those, and I think they're awesome. I think they're really, really cool things. Okay, so those are our giveaways. Those of you at home, again, a couple of you have already emailed us. I've responded to you. If you want a shirt, hat, socks, or something, send us your shipping address, and we'll get them out to you. There's no cost. We'll cover the shipping cost. The email address is info@allthingsopen.org, info@allthingsopen.org. Shoot us that email. If you're here and if you want a shirt or a hat, everything on the back table is fair game. I would really encourage you to head back there and get whatever you like. The shirts are super nice. The hats, I'm 100% biased. You don't expect me to say anything else, but I think they're so cool. And the shirts are, as you said, they're really soft material. They're quality shirts. These are shirts that you'll actually wear. I've received a lot of shirts at conferences just being honest, not throwing off on anybody or being negative. I don't wear them much. I really don't. Maybe they're stiff, they're heavy, they're really heavy material. These are not those shirts. So anyway, I just want to let you know that they're super nice. They're fair game. They're 100% free. We want you to leave with something. And if you don't see something that you want, or if we have something that you'd prefer that we don't have back there, let us know. You were so gracious to come out tonight. The least we can do is make sure that you get something. Jennifer, thank you for your awesome work. Jennifer is my right hand, and honestly, yeah, really guides what we do. Thank you. Ricardo, thank you for your great work tonight and your AV team. You're going to be our AV team for All Things Open, and I really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody. Sadev, thank you for being here. IBM, if, again, we were pre-COVID, right, we would be at IBM tonight, frankly, in Durham. They were our host for years, and once we get back to normal, they will resume being our host. Whenever that might be. So I want to recognize IBM as just a tremendous partner too. I want to recognize Kamunda again for making this one possible. I've dropped their link in the chat with the Zoom session multiple times. I encourage you to check those people out too. Jean-Georges, thank you. Thanks to everybody. Any final questions or anything like that before we leave? If some of you want to stay around, I'm interested in maybe just getting a couple of you on camera, just getting your thoughts about just a short video about the meetup tonight. We have, look, I'm just going to shoot you. You all already know this, right? The fact that you're here, I could give you a gigantic, very awkward, weirdo hug, but I won't. But as only a way to say thank you, just simply thank you. Look, 18 months we've been out of pocket. 18 months you've been inundated with, I don't know, if you're online, it's called doom scrolling, right? It's like just doom scroll. I mean, you could literally get very depressed just scrolling through the news these days. The fact that you've blasted through that and you've come out to join us, God, that means so much. But if any of you are willing to say, maybe, again, what you thought of the meetup, or, no, it was actually pretty safe. You know, the seats are distanced, the tables are distanced. I wasn't on top of someone. We would be grateful because I know other people probably want to come out, but are just thinking like they, in their mind, go back to previous All Things Opens. And I'll be honest, if you've attended an ATO before, back 2019 or prior to that, the room, the attendant, yeah, you probably you might have even sat on someone's lap in a breakout session. And
in my sessions.
That's how tightly we were packed in rooms. So we know a lot of people are probably thinking back to like, oh my God, 2019, there were 200 people crammed in a room. No way I'm going to do that again. Like, I'm not even going close to that place. I might, become infected by walking by it. How that is not going to be the case, obviously. It's going to reflect and it's going to look more like this as opposed to what it did look like, again, going back to our last in-person event. So something along those lines, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I at least wanted to throw that out. But thank you all. I've got 7:57, 3 minutes before. Any final comments? Yes, sir.
Are all talks going to be in person for All Things Open, or is there some talks that will be in
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Hey, thank you all. You all were the first to arrive tonight. I am grateful. I saw your faces first, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you for making this happen.
You're very welcome. It's great. I hope you have a great night. So his question was, are the sessions at ATO, all of them going to be virtual? They're going to be in person, et cetera. We're going to do a hybrid event this year. It's the first time we've ever done it exactly the way we're doing this meetup. We will have an in-person All Things Open here at the Convention Center. Sunday afternoon will be Inclusion and Diversity. Monday, Tuesday will be traditional conference days. We'll have about 10 to 12 tracks on site, and then we'll have an additional 5 tracks or so that will be virtual only. Everything on site will be live streamed to the virtual platform. So if you don't feel comfortable or if you want to watch virtually, you're not going to miss anything this year. That's at least the plan. And then if you're here and in person as an attendee, you can attend the 10 sessions going on here, 10, 12, something along those lines. But I'll give you some insight. This is what I would do because this is the way my brain works. I would have my laptop or my tablet or my machine pulled up with an earbud in, and I would be sitting in sessions, watching an in-person session, and I would be listening to a virtual session at the same time. I would literally take in 2 sessions at the same time because that's the way I process information. It drives my wife insane, literally insane, drives her nuts. But that's the way my brain happens to work. So I might be attending this session, have my laptop or my tablet pulled up earphones in or earbuds in with one ear in. So this ear I'm listening to a live session, listening, but then I'm glancing down and I'm also hearing content from the virtual session as well. Not telling you what to do, but I got to tell you, I might even do that. You know, we're going to be monitoring it on both ends anyway, but that's what I might do. So, long answer to a short question: hybrid format, 10 to 12 tracks in here, on site, and then we'll have another 5 or so virtual platform only. So there'll be remote speakers from all over the world. Total of 15 to 20 tracks, as we always do, and then everything in person will be streamed to the virtual platform. So everyone globally can consume all the information and they're not going to miss anything. We know this is a different year. I mean, we've discussed different formats and strategies and approaches, and this is the one we landed on. Not perfect. I could tell you 10 things wrong with it, but I could also give you 10 pros as well. It's just, I don't think there's a perfect answer. This year is just going to be a strange year. Coming off a year that we didn't think we would get any stranger, we've managed to get stranger. So I brace for 2022. I want to believe it's going to get better, but God, at this pace, Lord, what's coming in 2022? I don't know. Anyway, I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. Virtual air fist bumps to everybody. We are so grateful to you. So grateful. Everybody watching at home that stayed with us this long, thank you. And we hope to see you at ATO in October. Jesus, I need help. But anyway, we hope to see you. Yes, in 2021. Yes, thank you. I've lost track of the years. Have a great night. Thank you.
A big one for Todd.